Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to this wonderful workshop session from the horror program at the University of the Underground. I'm Aggie Haynes. I'm head of the horror program, which is a critical exploration into illicit societal fears and human passion for horror. So we're investigating institutions and popular culture through the lens of the horror genre in dramaturgy, film, costume making, and more. The University of the Underground is a free, pluralistic and transnational university founded in 2017, and it was birthed in the basements of nightlife venues. So we're a non-profit, we're a registered charity. If you'd like to donate, please visit universityoftheunderground.org. And on this website, you can also find loads of cool programming and exciting workshops and lectures just like this that are also on the YouTube and Instagram. So today we have the absolutely wonderful Jazzmin, Crawley and Kathleen White. You can find their amazing podcast, which I'm sure all of our students have been listening to, called Girl, That's Scary, which is the description, which I think is amazing. Two homegirls discussing poltergeist, their plans for the pending zombie apocalypse and everything in between. And this can be found on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which is part of the Dread Podcast Network. So thanks so much for joining us. We're going to learn a lot about the ins and outs of making podcasts today. So thank you. Over to you, Jazzmin and Kathleen.
All right. Well, hello. I am clearly Jazzmin. That's Kathleen.
I am Kathleen.
We do this every time. Intros are so awkward. So of course we're Girl That's Scary, and we started this podcast in 2019. Yeah, October 2019. And we're just a little bit over 2 years old. We just sat down and was like, hey, you want to make a podcast? That's what Kat said to me. And I said, yeah. And that's kind of what happened. And that's how easily you can make your podcast, is going, yeah, and pressing play. And then you have a podcast. That's how simple it is. There are some things in between that can, cut some of the drama that took us kind of months to figure out. You can kind of eliminate those problems on day one. However, you can literally start today. From start to conclusion. One of the concluding points is you can start today, right now, while you're sitting here. You can make a name and everything. And I'm going to kind of help facilitate that as we think about our whys. Why do we want to do this? Who do we serve when we put our voice out there? And, what is our passion projects? So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to open up this slide because we love icebreakers. I want to getting to know you every time. Sorry that I quoted Disney. I apologize.
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Not a gentleman and a scholar. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Let me just share these. Yes, share screen, girl. Come on.
And once you're ready, y'all, I'll be ready to crank up those icebreakers. Are you guys ready? Because we need to get the group ready. I know I'm pretty sure it's later for y'all today. We just woke up, so we're ready to rock.
Yes. All right, let me make this small because I can actually see myself. I'm going to share this. I don't think y'all can see my windows that I have. Oh, not shared. Child, I am talking about start this slideshow. All right. So starting a podcast, here we are. And that's our first logo, that little one on the side. The other one that's on our calendar, not on our calendar, but on our podcast, Dread Central helped us make, but we can talk about that with promotion, because you will need to have some kind of, you can't just have like, how you have Twitter and there's no icon. It's just the shape of a person. Exactly. So we'll get into that. So let's get into these icebreakers, Kathleen.
All right, so there's a couple questions on the screen. Take a look at them. I'm going to read them all out, and then whatever you feel the most drawn to, we're going to popcorn it out and just let people just, share if the spirit jumps out of them. So the first one is, if you were to star in your own horror movie, what would it be titled and what is it about? Question number 2 is, if you were a potato, how would you like to be cooked? Question number 3, surprise, you're dead. Which poster, like a movie poster, would you select to be as your tombstone? And the last question is, what's the last song that you listened to? So I'm going to give everybody like a minute or so to soak it in. And then feel free to share out if the spirit moves you.
I probably should have started a timer.
That's okay. I can see it's a minute.
Okay.
Because we got like 30 seconds left. Okay, well, I'm going to share first. I'm Kathleen. Hey, and the last song that I listened to was Buster Keaton by Quadron. I was feeling really nostalgic, and that song makes me feel good. And I was washing my hair, so it's got a fun, funky beat, and Quadron is the best.
Okay. And I'll answer next because clearly I've seen these questions before. So I've clearly had time to think about them. If I was a potato, okay, I would like to be pan-seared in duck fat with garlic, peppers, and onions, and a little bit of bacon bits. Mm-hmm. Now, we were going to popcorn it out. So first, before everybody, is everyone ready before I start yelling people names out like the teacher that I am? Like, excuse me, are you ready? Okay, I see you ready. So, okay, I'm going to call to Bianca Schnick. Is that how we say it?
Chic.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, if you were to start, yeah, I think I'm thinking about the project I'm doing now, so I would call it Techno Apple Superstar.
I'm interested.
If you were a potato, I would like to be cooked in the oven with olive oil and salt. And I would select the poster of Arancia Mecánica, how you say that in Clockwork Orange of Stanley Kubrick. And what's the last song you listened? I don't know, but I will go with, there is a super trash Italian musician who's called Mango. And I listen to that because it makes me feel good.
Thank you. And you can pass it over to someone else, Bianca, who has not gone.
Yes, Lila, please.
Hello. So are we supposed to answer all or just, because I only was thinking about the potato.
Yeah, you can pick one. That's actually fine to pick one. I picked one. But if you want to answer more than one, there's no cap. And then we have a small group, so we have more time.
Cool. I think if I was a potato, I would like to be cooked I think boiled first and then put in a red sauce with onion and oil and salt. Also, I'm really hungry. So no. But thank you. These are great questions. I pass it to Veronica.
Okay, I will also start with the potato because like this is the best question I have ever answered. I think I would like to be cooked as a potato pancake with and on the side I would like to have spinach and garlic because I'm a big fan of spinach. And I will also answer this last question, which is the last song you listen. And the last song I listened to is actually Kate Bush, Wuthering Heights, because it's my comfort song. So I listen to it quite often. And I'm passing the mic to Natalia.
Hi. So I'll answer the song question because I was just listening to music before I entered this call, and the last song I listened to, it's actually on my phone. It's FKA Twigs' Jealousy. Oh, and I pass it on to Lindsay.
I'm also going to do the song one. The last one I was listening to was Klamstrakke by Hattari, this Icelandic band. And it's like I was cleaning my house, so it's a cleaning your house kind of get things done vibe.
All right.
This sounds like a good time.
So yeah, thank you for sharing. I'm like, wait, these songs, we have to put these in the chat because I'm like, I don't know, I've never heard of, but the title of the song already is like I want to hear this. I don't know what it is, but I don't care what genre it is. I want to hear what it sounds like. All right. Thank you, Kathleen, for doing all these icebreakers. And it was so fun getting to know y'all a little bit. And now I have some more ideas about cooking potatoes because I never thought to put it in a sauce because, you know, I
love a potato pancake.
All right. So let's talk about what is your why. This is one of the most important questions we can answer and talk about when we're doing anything. So this is, I don't know the word for it, but like this spreads out to other things. It can be applied to whatever topic project you're working on. So if it is a podcast, great. But if it's a movie, script, book, poetry, you know, anything you're doing, why you do something, what motivates you is going to be important because that's going to not fixate, but that's going to control your outcome. So if you want to make people laugh, then you are going to focus on being funny and you're going to listen for people to laugh and have a good time. And that's going to drive your content. Your content is going to have humor in it. It's going to be fun. If you are, you know, trying to educate people, then your language is going to be educational. That's where it's going to fall under. We're giving people facts, you know, we're doing analysis, we're giving people information. That's going to drive your content. It's not going to be it could be filled with humor if you're doing both. If both of those can be your why, which you can have a combo why, you can have two things. But if someone says, hey, you know, bake a cake, you're like, all right, cool. Now bake a cake for your mama who, you know, just had 8 babies and she really wanted this cake, you know, you're about to go all out and do everything else. So first we're going to play this video. Hopefully it does not lag and act ridiculous because that's how Zoom is. But there's a great video about how knowing why you're doing something can change how you do it. So let's click this and hopefully it works wonderfully. Okay, we have to have a commercial. We're going to skip it. And bye. I hate commercials so much.
I cannot actually hear it, but there are subtitles, so it's okay. But the sound is not sharing, so just to know.
Oh no, the sound's not sharing. You know what? If the sound is not sharing, then maybe we could watch the video on our own time because we have to be able to hear it. I wonder if it's because it's playing through my headphones. But
maybe also when you share your screen, Jazzmin, if you select, I think you can select share sound.
Hold on.
I love technology.
Yes, I'm about to go to advanced sharing options. Okay, yeah. Advanced sharing.
When there's when the pop-up first comes up at like the bottom left, there's a little ticky box that says share sound.
Okay. Yep, here we go. Share computer sound.
Fabulous.
Okay, girl. I have to put my password in for this.
We love to.
Let's see.
Question that you really should ask is, how do I know why I'm here? Because when you know your why, your what becomes more clear and more impactful. If you know, like for instance, people know that I do comedy, but that's what I do. My why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. So I can do comedy, I can write books, I can be in a movie, because all of it is motivated by my why. In fact, I have a new web series out called Michael Jr. Break Time. We probably just did the 6th episode. It's on YouTube. So every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode on YouTube of Michael Jr. Break Time. What it is it's me. I travel around the country and I do stand-up comedy, in case you didn't know. And in the middle of my comedy set sometime, I'll stop and just talk to my audience. And we've been filming this, and it's, you know, it's pretty cool. So we're in Winston-Salem. I'm gonna show you a clip from Winston-Salem. And I'm just talking to this guy in the audience, and he tells me that he's a musical instructor at a school. So I was like, all right, you're a musical instructor, you know, can you sing? Let me hear you sing a song. So this is what happened at the last episode of Michael Jr.'s Break Time. Check it. So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing, you know what I'm saying? All right. Now, want you to give me the version as if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I see.
All right, so we're not going to do this whole thing, but I just wanted y'all to see how that affects, once he got like, no, you got an assignment. This is your assignment. This is your mission. You see how that changed how he sang the song. That's how your projects are. When you know why you're doing it, it's going to dictate how your outcome is started from the beginning. And in teaching, we call that backwards planning. So we have our goal up front. We don't just go, I'm gonna teach you this, this, and this, and then we're gonna assess what I taught. Instead, I want you to learn or feel or know this. Let me do all the things to get me to this point up here. That's what we're doing. So we are teaching, or not teaching, because I'm an educator, everything falls back to teaching. But, our goal or what we want to do, we have to do all the things that go in line with that. We know where the finish line is, or at least what direction to go, versus just doing stuff aimlessly and then like, I don't really know what I'm doing. So first we're gonna go into, no, I didn't mean to do that. How we go back? Hold on. I just feel like I could just press the back button. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah, just press the back button. All right. So why are you creating this podcast? Who is your target audience? Are you talking to kids? Are you talking to horror fans? Are you talking to music fans? Are you talking to like punk rock crowd? Are you talking to people who use Tumblr, people who dress in fashion? Are we talking to educators? Are you talking to people who are trying to invest their money? Who are you talking to? What do you hope to achieve? And then that's your mission. Okay. So for our example, Girl That's Scary aims to discuss horror media from the lens of Black women. So we are going to put Black voices in because there's not that much of that. But in our opinion is going to differ because of our life experience. And we want to put that out there so other Black horror fans can connect. And meet up there. Now, sometimes it's funny because Black women are funny, usually naturally, so that the humor's in there. But the main thing is to, talk about horror from our experience. So I want you guys to take a moment. We were going to do breakout rooms, but since it's a small group, we can just do maybe let's say 5 minutes. I will look at the time, it's 10:21, about 5 minutes to think about, what are you creating? Do you have a title? Is it, what are you doing? Okay. And I don't know is an acceptable answer. I haven't gotten that far is an acceptable answer. I don't have a title yet is an acceptable answer. All of those things are acceptable. And if your project is like podcast adjacent, like you're making a documentary or something, you can kind of shift it to your why can still fit that project. Okay. So I'm going to 10:21. We'll come back at 10:26. And then we will share our whys. Even if you only have one, I want to make something funny. That is a why. I want it to make people laugh. That's a why. So let's work on that and come on back.
Feel free to go off cam if you want to create your own bubble.
Mm-hmm. We have about 1 more minute. All right, let me turn my camera back on. Oh, there we go. All right, and as we are finishing up, is there anyone who is ready? I feel like you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom, or you can just unmute and be like, it's me, I'm ready to share.
Okay. Hello, I guess I could I could go. I haven't really thought before about how I would like to curate a podcast. So I don't know of a title, but I've thought in relation to my practice and this project, it would be really interesting and fun for me to imagine a podcast where I'm kind of in dialogue with a lot of different people, trying to reconstruct how we relate to history, more like a nonlinear and a malleable thing rather than a sedentary and a set in stone kind of view of it. And I would be really interested in conversing with mixed cultures such as myself. So it would be interesting to mix languages and have Latin and Arabic together to talk about how we relate to history in a non-linear way, I guess. Could be funny too. I would like to make people laugh. Yeah.
Excellent, Layla. That sounds like a really good idea. Also, at least from my side, what we have access to, there's not a lot of podcasts that I see that aren't in English. So it's great to have podcasts that are not in English so other people can access them because, language is access. I teach Spanish. So if you don't speak English, you don't get to enjoy the same conversation that you deserve to have access to. So there should be other people who speak the language who can still, break that down. So I think that's great. Also, there are podcasts where people literally interview different people. There's different people on each podcast. There's a main host and they go through and talk to other people. So that's a tangible goal. I'm gonna just start calling people like a teacher. Natalia.
Okay, so I was thinking about I was thinking about a podcast in relation to the project that we're doing now. So I think my podcast, which is also what my project does, is I'm hoping to bring forward alternative ecological solutions, speculations, and just conversations from marginalized people. And then I hope that this podcast is kind of like some sort of this concept of healing, not only our relationship with each other, but also our relationship with the environment. And yeah, it's like a conversation interview base.
Yeah. All right. I love that. All right, Lindsay.
Yeah, I was also thinking of kind of our current podcast project. I did get too personal about my aspect of it in it, but I was thinking more of kind of a summoning of sort of the horrors and monstrous things that are either in our daily lives or also kind of things that we don't want to bring about, and then a confrontation in the summoning of these sort of horrific and monstrous aspects as well.
Right. Veronica.
Yeah, actually I went with the same direction as Lindsay, because I've been thinking as the main reason about for this for this hypothetical podcast would be to present like contemporary research connected to her, or like the aspect of her trauma or any sort of correlated to it, like from understandable way. And also because we are thinking like, because we are going to do a podcast, so we are thinking using like Monster as tool to actually understand our research projects, but also maybe to uncover like more to uncover it a little bit more to like interviews with guests, so to speak. Yeah, so basically just reframing Monster as tool to understand the contemporary society, but also the theoretical aspect.
All right. And last but not least, Bianca.
Yeah, I would follow what Veronica said about the monster, because I think that's quite a good idea to frame a podcast, because I don't know, I've never done a podcast, so it's nice to think about a monster and and frame it in that way. So my monster would be the sort of extractivist monster and like corporate wizard sort of thing. And I would like to have an interview, if I can, if I'm able to, with two people. I would like one is a friend of mine who is an artist and he works in Colombia, and he works with these ideas of extractivism, but on the moon mainly. So it would be nice to connect it like with Earth, but also outside the Earth. Yeah, that's a bit what I would think. But yeah.
Y'all have some great and unique ideas, because a lot of people are like, I just want to talk about pop culture with my friends. So which is nothing wrong with that either. But, it's just so interesting to hear people like, yeah, I want to talk about ecological studies and what, I want to interview people here and do this. These are great things. So let's move on to the next slide, which I believe podcast setup, which Kat and I will both jump in with that.
Cool. Yeah, I was just aggressively nodding the entire time because these are some wonderful ideas. I'm actually super excited. If and when they get on the platforms, I will be tuning in. So you will know where to find us, because I am trying to listen. And if I have to use a translator, I will, because I need to listen.
Yeah, you can send them directly to us, actually. So if you do start it, I will literally subscribe and give you your first five-star rating. I will. Please send it to us.
Absolutely.
Yes. So go ahead, Kat.
Okay. So let's dive a bit into podcast setup. So just a quick background. I am a huge fan, because of our first topic, for people who do solo podcasts. A podcast can have all kinds of, look different ways. You can have one person who's just kind of talking to their audience, is like, hey, this is me talking to you. You can have a duo, kind of like how we're set up. And then you can have a group of folks. Like, maybe I personally feel like a large group of people, there are a lot of voices that kind of get lost, but people make it work. So that's awesome. And then, so going into those three things, I feel like folks who do solo podcasts, might tip my hat off to you. I feel like everybody has the ability to do it. But for me personally, a duo works best for us, because who am I going to talk to? Like, so you have to find what works best for you. And I see that Jazz has hyperlinked some different options for some good solo podcasts and some good duo podcasts. Jazz, you mind clicking on that solo podcast, por favor?
Yes. Okay. Well, okay. Here's the thing, because I click on it, it's going to take us to the podcast link, like Apple Music. So I can just tell you who's on here. It's From the Depths podcast. It's a horror podcast. It's a singular guy. And people were talking about interviews. You can have a solo podcast. You don't have to be rigid with your structure. So you can be by yourself sometimes. You can then bring friends on sometimes. You can do interviews sometimes. Again, all of these things, they support your why. You are allowed to be as flexible as you can, as long as we're coming into that same goal. Okay. Of course, with duo, we have guests, but it's two main people who are responsible for always being consistently on the podcast. So of course, there are some duos where maybe one person is sick or out and they might have a guest host sometimes, but the podcast is known for, there are two faces to that podcast. Groups, 3 or more, that's a party. And again, it's a lot to manage, but many, as we say at my school, many hands make light work. So if you have 5 people on the podcast, y'all can like each week take turns editing the podcast, which is tedious. It takes time. When you first start, you might not have to do all too much. You might want to just get used to the rhythm, but y'all can split up work. Like one person can run social media. One person can be responsible for Patreon. One person can be responsible for editing. One person can be responsible for reaching out to other people and doing the scheduling and being responsible for the calendar and things like that. So you can kind of break up the work. Although speaking at once, y'all might want to do video or something so you're not talking over each other. Now, we have live and scheduled. I'll give that to Kat because Kat got that.
Yeah. So well, first we have a video and audio. So of course you have your audio with us. Just that's okay, Kyle. We just have audio. So as we're an audio, mostly audio-based podcast. But there are some folks who are just strictly video. You can do both, whatever floats your boat. I honestly feel like all things could exist. Or even like we are kind of shifting more towards video, but we're going to talk a bit about more about that later. You also have live versus scheduled. So scheduled is basically you record on a different time, then upload later. And then versus live, where if we were to decide, you know what, scratch all this. We're talking right now. This is now a Comprise Girl That's Scary episode. Boom, that's your difference. And honestly, once again, you go with whatever feels best to you, and you can mix it up and do both, just depending on how you are feeling in the moment and what you think that your audience would like to see and or hear. And then we have timing, continuous versus cluster. So continuous meaning you have an episode that comes out every week, a couple times a week, whatever your schedule that you have set up to release your content to your friends or to the world or wherever you want to, versus cluster. Some folks like to do things like season. So I have a set set amount of episodes that comes out every month, or I take a break in between there, or every 3 months or something. How do you want to deliver your content, or how would you like people to, ingest your content continuously, or just get them like a hot season, like your favorite TV show? And then last, but definitely not least, your cover art. Our cover art has gone from a baby cover art, which we still love in our hearts, to what Dread has helped us do for our cover art now. It also based off of how you feel for yourself. Do you want to just have like a logo, a picture, some words? Do you want your face or maybe a cartoon character of yourself or something else to be your cover art? How would you like your work to be represented in a visual form? Something that's eye-catching, that brings people in, or mixed with whatever really jumps out at you. These are really important things to think about. Don't overwhelm yourself, but definitely think about it when you're going through.
All right.
Go to bounce the jazz.
I can't see your face, Kat, but I know you're moving your hands. I cannot. Okay. Now, I believe we scheduled in a break for after podcast setup. Yeah, because it's about 40 minutes in. So if you need to, let's do, y'all think what, 5 or 10 minutes? Y'all can show me with your hands if you want 10 or you want 5. I can
see everybody's hands. 5.
5. Okay.
6. Okay.
Okay.
5.
We'll do a flexible 5, so you can bathroom break, water, whatever you need, and we're gonna come back and move on to the next slide. I promise the whole thing will not be a slideshow. I promise. But we'll see you in 5 minutes. The time is now 10:38, so we'll come back at 10:43. Looking around. All right. Oh, okay. Everybody is back. Hello. How are you? We're back again. So let's talk about these podcast platforms. This is where you upload your audio. Now, you do not have to record directly into the audio. We do. We use Anchor for free. It's free on your phone. Like if you have an iPhone, even I feel like an Android also, you literally don't need a microphone. You don't need anything. You can just take your phone, download the app, start your podcast, record into there, save the audio, and you can upload it that way. I don't know how the editing works, but you can use Audacity to edit, and that's also free. I used to use it in college when I did my Spanish speaking. We would have to respond to the question verbally, but you can download it for free. Those are 2 free items. That's why you can start today. You don't need a microphone. You don't even really need cover art. I mean, you can make your episodes and put the cover art on there later because it will go back and transfer over. So you use Anchor, you speak into it. It also pushes your podcast. It gives you what we call an RSS feed. That is what puts your podcast on Spotify. Apple Music, everything else. That's what puts your podcast out there so other people can listen to it. That's what we call going live. If the podcast is recorded, but it's not live, you can press play and you can listen to it. Or if you send the file to someone else, they can listen to it. But people won't be able to go on Spotify and search you up. The episode won't be out unless you make it go live. Now, Riverside is new. It seems like it's Anchor. I have not used it, but they keep forcing it down my throat because I'm a podcaster. So you know the ads, your computers are listening to you. And they're like, yeah, Riverside, try this stuff. And I'm like, it's there. I checked the pricing. I think it's like maybe $7 a month. And you can do video podcasting, which is great if you're podcasting with people who are far away, because Kat and I, we're a duo, but we're usually sitting next to each other. I can see when Kat is about to say something. We can motion like I have something else. We can do that. If you are trying to anchor, you can't see people. It's like a phone call. So you're talking that you're liable to talk over each other. And then if you're using your phones, both of you, you're both trying to talk, the audio might go out, versus using something like maybe Riverside, and Zencastr does the same thing, which you also pay for. You get the video, everyone has their separate line of audio. So when you put it into editing software like Audacity, everyone has a line. So if they go out, you can like clip that audio and take it out. If they're talking at the same time, you can like maybe mute one person and let the other person talk so it doesn't sound jumbled. You can go in and like edit each line of audio. Anchor only gives you one line of audio. No matter how many people are on there, it's only one line. So if people are talking over each other, you can't really go in and edit it. But if it's only two people, like people who are familiar, you might not need to edit so much. If you're in the same room, you also probably won't need to edit so much. But Zencastr, again, does video, audio, and everything else. Podbean, that's what I think we had Podbean first before we did Anchor. That one's on the, well, they have free options now, but this isn't my first podcast. I had a podcast like 2014 when you had to apply to get on Apple to make your podcast and stuff work. Podbean was a little expensive. It was like $10 a month, and then it got up to like $15 because it limits how many hours you can do. And if you have a longer podcast, and for us, since we do it weekly, on top of doing it weekly, we have Patreon that comes out twice a month. That's 6 episodes, a month. And if they're all an hour, you can't cap me at 4 hours because we need the time. So Podbean, you might have to pay for, but it does push everything out everywhere. But so does Anchor. So just saying, if you want to record using one thing, you can still push it out to something like Anchor because it's free. Acast is just like Zencastr, where you have separate lines of audio. Again, you have to pay for that. And Audio Boom, same thing. Now, Audio Boom was like $10 a month. It's $10 a month. So we tried that. We had a trial with that as well. Most of them are like less, $10 or less a month. But again, I keep hammering in on the free section, because just because you start your podcast one place doesn't mean you have to like move every episode ever. You just move your RSS feed, it switches you over. You don't have to do a whole lot of work, because we were like, oh no, we have like 30 episodes on this thing. Who's sitting down to do that? Because they just won't have those 30 episodes. Instead, no, it just moves everything over. It's pretty seamless. All right, so let's move on over. All right, editing software. Here you go, Kathleen.
Editing software, mics, equipment. First of all, you can start your podcast today, like Jazz has been saying, with literally just the microphone on your phone. I know that sounds crazy. A lot of our first episodes were very much like that. And it honestly, to be quite honest, sounded a lot clearer than like, what were we using, a Blue Yeti mic?
Yes, we were using a Blue Yeti mic, but because me and Kathleen have very full voices, is what I'll say, it would overload the microphone a lot. But with the iPhone microphone, or with your phone microphones, they're not overloading. Right. So it sounds a little bit clearer.
Now, since then, we have since graduated to, there's an actual mics you can purchase that connect directly to your phone. So if you want to record on the go and not necessarily use something that's a lot more stationary, this is something that you might find to be very helpful. Google is your best friend. We know Google is your best friend. You can find so many different lists. Like right now we're using a Rode mic, which connects directly into our iPhones. It has like a kind of cover over it and everything. I know, Jazz, I was doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's right here.
But Exactly. So that is, I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's our Rode mic that connects directly into our phones. We also have different mics. Like right now, she's using the El Gato, and it's a different kind of mic that stands up. You can use in front of. We all say El Gato like that. And then there's of course different other mics as well. So you just have to figure out what setup works best for you in the moment, and of course long term, because nothing has to be forever. You can always shake and move. Cameras, as we all know as well, your phone is your best friend. Shout out to being born in a time where technology is going crazy right now, because the cameras are always trying to outdo themselves every time. You can literally get like a ring light clip to go on top of your phone if you don't have access or to an entire stand. Lighting, all that jazz is definitely going to be your best friends. Just like you want to get these selfies off, think about that the same way if you're trying to convey a message or podcast via video, in addition to audio. Like, your lighting is going to be perfect. Don't go crazy if your lighting is not perfect. It's okay. We're still listening. Your message is still getting across. But lights, whether you're doing a daylight, taking the best, using what you have around you, creating box lights. So setting up a situation where you control the light, whether it's with a bunch of different lights or anything. And of course, like I talked about, ring light, all going to be your best friends. And ring lights, like, I'm not sure what access to different stores that you guys have all around you, but I feel like I'm pretty sure we all have some sort of like less than $10 store where you could just get a cool, quick little ring light, maybe your Target. I know Target's international, different things. This is definitely going to be your best, and Amazon, if you support Amazon.
Now,
that's going to be your best friend.
Yes, I did link videos from YouTube where people are naming the best mics you can get. And like cheaper mics you can get. There's cameras where they're naming them. Of course, your phone, people are shooting entire movies on iPhones. Okay. Your phone will do what you need it to do. Especially, I think the phone often is better than the camera on our laptops 9 times out of 10. Yes. So I honestly, yes. And then lights, they also sell like a tiny one that's like the size of your phone that literally you can prop up and it'll blast light right into your face. And I think I added a video with where they put the lights and how they make themselves stand out, because it's more so just about placement. It's not like you have to buy a fancy, super expensive stuff. It's just knowing how to use what you have. And on the last one, all those podcast platforms, there are links, because I'm gonna make sure I share this with Aggie so that she can share it with you all, so you can see the videos links, because the websites I attached to those, so you can just click it, so you don't have to memorize like, oh my god, write all this stuff down. You can just go through the PowerPoint and be like, yeah, this one, let me see how it works, or can I afford this, or do I want to start free and then move on to something later. And I'm checking the chat to make sure there's no okay. Ooh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next slide. Promotion, the fun part, the hard work. Hard work. Okay, so yes, we put it out there. Some people are just going to stumble upon your podcast by chance. A word of mouth. You're going to tell people about it. They're going to listen. But the world is literally your oyster at this point. We got Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is huge. I don't have a TikTok because I am a grandma, not in real life, but that's a lot of social media for me. Clubhouse and things like that. So I run the Twitter account, and I've been on Twitter since Twitter was the Wild West. It still is the Wild West. So you got to be careful on there. But there's a huge podcast community. There are podcast pages dedicated to, look, do you have a new podcast? We'll promote you for free. They'll just retweet you. Following other podcast friends, making friends on there. IG, Kat runs IG. She does all the cool stuff, sharing people's videos, interacting with people, because then they interact with you and then other people come to your page. TikTok is actually booming. If you learn how to use TikTok, doing not even dance moves, but you can do the shorts where people are literally giving information and being informational. I've learned a lot of things seeing TikTok videos on Twitter, because I don't have TikTok, but they'll be like, did you know such and such and such and such? The did you know TikTok is up there. So if it goes with your why, you can give fun facts like that might surprise people, and they might tune into your podcast to hear more. Clubhouse, for us, because we do horror, I do watch alongs. Me and Kat, we have a little GTS hotline. People go on there and you can just listen. We can watch movies together like in real time, or we'll have panels talking about diversity in horror, or just talking about horror tropes. Right now there's another club called Black Afro Horror Club, and we are doing like Horror 101, where we go in and talk about demons, the like subgenres, or we go slashers, we go in and discuss like do deep dives and give movie suggestions. We have a website. A website is not necessary, but we do have one, especially because it might house all your links. So if you just tell people, like we tell people the girlthatscary.com, they can find where we're streaming. They can find our Twitter. They can find, instead of giving them 6 links, you can instead just make a link tree. You know, if y'all heard of that, you can put all your links there if you don't want to build a website, because we do pay for Squarespace. It's like maybe $16 a month for the site. But if you have a lot of setup and you do have merch and stuff, you can put it up there and you can link your merch to, like, there's websites, like, I'm trying to think of the name. If not, I might just add, you know, hyperlink it in there, but you don't have to ship out things yourself. They might take a percentage and they'll do all the work for you. So yeah, they're taking a percentage, but you don't have to do any of the work of shipping any of your merch out. You can just, they have it, they'll, you know, do it for you. So that's another form of income, you know, if you're trying to, like, you know, support your passion, because it does cost a little bit of money. It costs quite a bit of time, but sometimes, you know, just even the shirts, if they just pay for the website, you know, you sell like 1 a month, so you don't have to come out of your pocket for the website. That might just be all you really, you know, need. So it doesn't cost you any out-of-pocket money to do what you love. Networks and networking. So there's podcast networks. Clearly, for horror, there's like Dread, of course, Fangoria has one, Bloody Disgusting, Morbidly Beautiful. There's all these networks. Some of them are not like the huge ones. They're just a cluster of podcasts and y'all promote each other. You can make your own network. If you know 5 podcasters, you can literally say, let's build a network. This is our network. We're going to share each other's work. So all of your fans know about me. All of my fans know about you, and y'all can spread out that way. So if one of y'all gets more popular, you can raise each other up as y'all both, you know, climb the ladder, or just get more listeners, because you can just support each other. When one wins, we can all win. We literally, it does not have to be like Titanic. We do not have to throw people out of on a sinking boat. We can share the wooden plank, although it probably would have sank in the movie. They both would have died. Networking. So that's really important. I know, you know, it's hard to talk to people. We've been in the house for a long time, but I think Clubhouse makes it kind of easy to network. I networked in a way where we had a panel with Rusty Cundiff, the director of Tales from the Hood. We got, just because I was on a Clubhouse and I met someone who was his mentor, and then he's like, hey, do you want to talk to this person? And I was like, of course I do. Of course I do. And then that's how that happens. That's how easy it is. Sometimes you run into people like Josh Rubin, who did Werewolves Within, if you've seen that, or Scare Me. He's on Clubhouse. He's been in the room with us. If you've seen the series Slasher, it was on Netflix, and it's on Shudder now. The director's always Ian. He's always in Clubhouse. He's in our rooms when we throw the rooms. He's like, oh, I can't wait till y'all see this part, and he'll pop out and come back in and hear our reaction. Like the people who make movies. One Bedroom, Alok Mishra. He does a producer, not director, and he's on Clubhouse also. Like, you'll just run into Barbara Crampton, like you just run into actors and people who are on there, and you can easily make a connection or ask a question directly, or people might follow you, or you can just like, would you do my podcast? You'd be surprised at who would say yes. They'll be like, yeah, sure, absolutely. They love to talk. Also, people love to talk about themselves. I just want you, they do. Especially people who have projects, like, you know, doing big projects like that. They want to talk about them. So that's always a good time. You can network just by talking to people, just following people and engaging with them, because they'll remember that. So talk, use social media, connect with other podcasters, lean on each other if you can, and also guesting on other people's podcasts. So people reach out, I'm like, hey, I heard your podcast. I would love to have you, you know, listen to their podcast first and see if that aligns with what you're, because you don't want to hop on their podcast and realize they're saying some stuff that you don't agree with. It's like, oh, maybe I should have been on there. But, you know, give them a listen, be like, yeah, because then those people you have new people who've been introduced to your voice, and you'd be surprised. There are people who listen to our podcast and countries. I'm like, where how did you find this? You're in Korea. How'd you see this? And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So you might have somebody who's on the other side of the world who's like, yep, I agree. Or you're talking and they're all the way in the back like, yep, I like that. So guesting does work as well. So let's move on to the next one. I feel like it's conclusion. Yes, conclusion.
It's the end, girl. Well, we're here and we're rolling up at the end, but of course we want to let you remind it back to bring it to the top of your brain. Know your why. What is your reason for what you're doing right now? Keep that in the forefront of your brain every time you pop that mic on, anytime you're brainstorming. it's always going to be your center. Lean in on what is your why. What is the message you're trying to convey to the folks you want to hear you? And of course, you can start today. Like, seriously, once you were done, open the phone up. And even if you don't want to get as far as downloading the app, start drafting stuff up. Even if you put 3 words on the paper, guess what, girl? You're doing a great job. You're doing good. Because if nobody told you you're doing great, because there was 3 more words and they were there yesterday. You're doing wonderful. Perfection, back to that other one, is the enemy of getting things done. If you hone in, because Jazz will tell you all the time, my brain is spaghetti. I would be like, it's gotta look like this. And she's like, you know, you're the worst enemy, right? I'm like, you're right, girl. So you got to keep that in your brain. Like, if you are so fixated, it's wonderful that we have all these skills, but so fixated on like this one thing or trying to get this thing done, it's gonna push yourself back. So you got to do what you can, give yourself grace, meet yourself where you are, and you know what? If you're thinking about like how people are gonna receive what you're saying and all that other stuff, you already know you're great. If you know you're out here being a great person, not really disrespecting other people and blah, 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 and of course, keeping your why in your forefront, forget what everybody else thinks, stay true to yourself. And that's actually what's most important. Also know that you're gonna have people that's gonna open your podcast like, this is trash, 1 star. And you can just do what we do. I know you a liar, and I know you just pressed this because you really just, you know, maybe you're just ugly today. I don't know what that looks like for you inside your chest. Because clearly what we were talking about, I know it's not 1 star. If you dislike the movie, I mean, that's cool, but we were informative. And keep that in your brain. Like if you think about, damn, they don't like me. No, you're great. Press on. That's it.
Now we have a question Q&A session. So I'm going to stop the share because we've been looking at this the whole time.
Forever.
Yes, and we can actually look at each other's faces now. Hello, hi. Because I don't know how share screen works when you're not. Yes, I do. It's off to the side, but you still can't see everyone. So Q&A, ask us whatever you would like.